skies for amber waves of grain.
Do you just want to start? Harding, Jerem, Melton, Pauls, Palermo, Mr. President.
Here. Would everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for our invocation today by Councilmember Brinkerhart.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to ask for your thoughts and prayers for the speedy recovery of Addie Scheinman, who was tragically injured at the end of last week. We sometimes take life, our way of life, for granted. Please help us to remain cognizant of how precious life is, and let us celebrate our time together as we work to find solutions to better our city and our community.
Amen. Thank you.
An affidavit of publication is on file for the pre-council and city council meeting, and a current copy of the Open Meeting Act is posted in a white binder on the east wall of the legislative chambers.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this meeting of the Omaha City Council. The council thanks you for joining us today. For those of you in attendance, as a courtesy to others, we would ask you to turn off or mute any of your electronic devices. Our first order of business today is a presentation from the mayor of the 2018 budget. Mayor Stoffel.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. President Gray, council members, and citizens of Omaha. It is certainly an honor to be with you today to present our recommended 2018 City of Omaha budget in the 6th-year capital improvement program. Our 2018 budget was prepared over the last 10 months with several key objectives as our guide. These objectives include providing the valuable core city services for our citizens in the most efficient and effective way possible, increasing funding and emphasis on city responsibilities that directly respond to citizens' concerns, continuing to improve the fiscal discipline and professional budget management that citizens have come to expect from our administration, and maintaining our lower property tax rate that sufficiently funds our priorities while recognizing the burden property taxes have on Omaha taxpayers. The recommended budget meets all of these objectives. I am proud of the work and creativity of city management and of all employees in developing recommendations and responding to the financial guidelines that I have provided along the way. I would also like to thank you, City Council, for your input and your suggestions during this budget process. While those of us in public office should make every effort to engage the public and listen to their concerns, nothing pushes that issue more than a local election. For me, the best part of that process is the hours and hours spent visiting our citizens. I always learn so much from conversations with Omaha families about what most impacts their quality of life. Our recommended budget responds to these taxpayers' concerns, yet strikes a balance between worthy spending ideas and the limited taxes that citizens can afford. So, to the citizens of Omaha, thank you for your ideas and your excitement about the future of our great city. Here are some of the highlights of the recommended budget. We propose to hire 20 additional police officers, bringing the total number of sworn officers to 880. That will result in 76 more officers since 2014. We expect to expand that number to 900 in 2019 to prepare for the 5th Police Precinct headquarters based in Elkhorn and the continued growth of our city. Furthering our commitment to public safety, we propose to fund an additional fire department medic unit and the 6 new positions required to support it. For street resurfacing, we have budgeted $1 million in additional funding next year to bring our street resurfacing budget to an all-time high of nearly $12 million. This request is in addition to the $5 million of new one-time funds for street resurfacing that we generated from city operations this year. These additional funds became available this year following our successful labor contract negotiations with the Omaha Police Officers Association and the payment of retroactive employee salaries. With these additional funds, we will complete 59 street resurfacing projects this year. Our commitment to street repair is clear. Since 2016, we have increased spending on street resurfacing and repair by $8 million. We will also increase staffing in the Public Works Department and buy new equipment to improve services year-round, including pothole repair and snow removal. We propose to further strengthen our cash reserve funds with additional funding over 2017 levels, bringing our combined savings account balances to historic highs. Our commitment to other programs and operations that impact the public every day will also be enhanced. This includes fully funding library operations, additional support for the Omaha Convention and Visitors Bureau, more funding for the demolition of condemned properties, and more resources for the care and protection of our city parks. This budget also provides funding to our community partners that provide valuable programs that support our strategic priorities: public safety, youth services, reentry, neighborhood support, and job training. We will increase funding to 2 highly successful employment programs, the Step Up Summer Jobs Program and Heartland Workforce Solution. We will double our funding to the Step Up Summer Jobs Program to $1 million to expand this youth employment program, and Heartland Workforce Solutions will receive $500,000. In all, more than 25 organizations will receive community service funds to provide important services to our community. On the revenue side for 2018, because of our strong and growing local economy, we anticipate that sales tax revenues will increase by 2.3%. We estimate that receipts from the restaurant tax will be 6.6% higher next year. Much of this revenue is coming from our growing tourism and event business. And property tax revenues will increase slightly by 3.3%. These are the revenues that I believe are necessary to increase public safety, provide more street resurfacing than ever before, and all of the other city services and programs. Over the last 4 years, I have reduced the property tax rate twice. This budget does not reduce property taxes or the restaurant tax. This year, we chose to increase the services demanded by the taxpayers, and we can do all of these things with existing revenue and a very carefully managed budget. The proposed overall general fund budget will increase by 4.5%. This is a very responsible and very efficient budget. I would like to mention a topic of particular interest this year. In January, the Douglas County Assessor provided a very preliminary estimate for property valuations for the coming year. She provided this information earlier than ever before on the assessor's website. Unfortunately, those preliminary valuation totals resulted in large increases. Some were up significantly. And that's after last year's state tax board ruling that increased home values up for many people. Because of the public response and pressure from so many elected officials, including myself, the assessor recalculated and in most cases reduced those initial valuations. The overall increase for Omaha properties was cut roughly in half, or an average increase of 2.5% citywide, and that's good news. These citizen-led changes provided us budget clarification early in the process, and it resulted in a more productive budget process for the city. Consequently, we will not receive a tax windfall. The actual financial result of the valuation adjustments is a 2.5% increase in property tax valuation or revenue to the city of Omaha, or $2.2 million to the general fund. This is the 5th budget that I have prepared as mayor, and during this time we have significantly improved the financial standing of our city. I believe that with those years behind us, it is helpful to summarize what has been accomplished and what will be added to this record with the adoption of our recommended 2018 budget. First, I am proud to have had City Council support during my first term as mayor for 2 property tax rate reductions. The rate is lower today than it was in 2010. We will have added 76 more police officers, helping to make Omaha safer and establishing what I believe is one of the best large city police departments in the country. Our men and women in blue have made Omaha a safer city. We have added over 27,000 citizens to Omaha through annexation and managed the expansion of city services. Nearly all of these residents in the newly annexed areas are paying lower property taxes. We have expanded human service and job training programs that prove they work and that they make a difference for those in our community who rely on them. We will have nearly doubled the street resurfacing budget in these few short years, and we have brought our savings accounts to their highest level in city history. Thousands of new private sector jobs have been created in Omaha during this time. We have successfully renegotiated all of our city employee labor contracts, saving the taxpayers millions and millions of dollars. We have increased transparency of the public's business and modernized and improved customer service for the taxpayers that we serve. And I think we all can be proud of this work. Our progress should give us confidence that ongoing improvements are not only possible, but they are expected. We mentioned at the onset that we are also presenting for the council consideration our 6-year capital improvement plan for the years 2018 through 2023. While our general fund pays for daily operations, most of which goes for employee salaries and benefits, the capital improvement plan, or the CIP, covers capital expenditures for the next 6 years. At the end of each year, we add another year and then we budget accordingly. The CIP directs funding for transportation, public safety, public facilities, parks, and environmental investments that are long-term in nature. The funds that support the CIP come from various sources, including bond funds that have been approved by the voters in prior elections. The CIP is the driver for major projects and expenditures for the long term. Some highlights of our proposed CIP include $350 million in total transportation projects, $61 million in 2018 alone. This includes $1.8 million in 2018 for substandard street repair and a total of $5.3 million over the next 6 years. The CIP includes the cost associated with a new 5th police precinct in Elkhorn and the construction of 2 new fire stations to replace aging buildings. 2 new Omaha public libraries, one downtown and one in southwest part of the city. We are supporting the public infrastructure at University of Nebraska Medical Center's state-of-the-art medical education and training facility called IXL. Funding for the financial commitments that we have made for Human Service Campus that provides housing and support services for our homeless population. And of course, the CIP outlines our expenses for our very expensive and long-term federally mandated sewer separation project. The draft CIP is now posted on the City of Omaha's Planning Department website, and I encourage all citizens to look at it and to review it. This year, we've redesigned this important planning document to make it easy to read and easy to use. Our recommended 2018 budget also is available on the finance page of the City of Omaha's website. The 2018 budget public hearing will be held in this chamber on August 8th at 7 p.m. and I encourage you to attend and to provide your input. We look forward to council members' questions and actions on our recommended budget and on the capital improvement plan. Your input has already made these recommendations and this budget process much, much easier. And finally, thank you again to the citizens of Omaha. I fully recognize and I appreciate the importance of spending your money effectively with the goal of serving you and doing so with full transparency and the best possible outcomes. Thank you all.
Here we go.
You put the capital improvement plan in there too.
Okay.
We need the motion then to set the public hearing.
Need a motion to set the
Set
public-
the public hearing for August 8th at 7 o'clock.
Second.
Moved and seconded to set the public hearing on the budget to August 8th at 7 o'clock. It's been moved and seconded. No lights. Roll call.
Festerson.
Yes.
Harding. Jerem.
Yes.
Melton. Pauls.
Yes.
Palermo.
Yes.
Mr. President.
Yes.
Motion passed 7-0. Item 6, a resolution to approve the revised preliminary plat for Anchor Point located northwest of 168th and Ida Streets. Planning Board and Planning Department recommend approval. B is an amendment requested by Councilmember Melton.
Public hearing on agenda item number 6 is today. We've had the public hearing.
I think, have we put,
It's supposed to be 6, 7, and 8, or are we just doing 6?
We have to do them separate because there's
Separate.
amendments.
Okay.
so I think we placed A on file, is that right? Or are we
No, A
moving?
is just a Planning Board and Planning Department recommend approval. B would be the amendment that needs action.
Okay, I would move to pass the amendment at this time.
Amendment B?
Yeah, Amendment B,
Okay.
number 6.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve Amendment B of item 6. No lights. Roll call.
Festerson.
Yes.
Harding.
Yes.
Jerem.
Yes.
Melton.
Yes,
Pauls.
Yes.
Palermo.
Yes.
Mr. President.
Yes.
Motion passed 7-0. 6 as amended.
Second.
Roll call.
Festerson.
Yes.
Harding. Jerem.
Yes.
Melton. Pauls. Palermo.
Yes.
Mr. President.
Yes.
Item 6 as amended approved 7-0. Item 7, a resolution to approve the plat for Anchor Point located northwest of 168th and Ida Streets. Planning Board and Planning Department recommend approval.
Moved and seconded to approve item 7. No lights. Roll call.
Festerson.
Yes.
Harding. Jerem.
Yes.
Melton. Pauls. Palermo.
Yes.
Mr. President.
Yes.
Item 7 approved, 7-0. Item 8, a resolution to approve the subdivision agreement with Anchor Point Development, LLC, the Anchor Point Homeowners Association, and Sanitary and Improvement District 567. A is an amendment requested by Councilmember Melton.
move the amendment.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded to move the amendment on item number 8. There are no lights. Roll call.
Festerson.
Yes.
Harding.
Yes.
Jerem.
Yes.
Melton.
Yes,
Pauls. Palermo.
Yes.
Mr. President.
Yes.
Motion passed 7-0.
you have to do as amended.
8 is amended.
Roll call.
Festerson.
Yes.
Harding.
Yes.
Jerem.
Yes.
Melton.
Yes,
Pauls. Palermo.
Yes.
Mr. President.
Yes.
Item 8 is approved as amended, 7-0. Items 9 and 10 relate to the same project. Item 9, an ordinance to rezone property located northwest of 39th and L Streets from GC to CC. Item 10, an ordinance to amend the boundaries of the MCC district to incorporate property located northwest of 39th and L Streets. Planning Board and Planning Department recommend approval.
Public hearing on agenda items numbers 9 and 10 are today. Proponents, please.
Dan Dozal, Earhart Griffin Associates, 3552 Farnham. We're the engineers, and I'm here to answer questions.
Thank you. Are there any other proponents who wish to be heard? Seeing none, are there any opponents who wish to be heard? Seeing none, the public hearing is closed. Is there a motion? Moved and seconded to approve items 9 and 10. There are no lights. Roll call.
Festerson.
Yes.
Harding. Jerem.
Yes.
Melton. Pauls. Palermo.
Yes.
Mr. President.
Yes.
Items 9 and 10 approved, 7-0. Item 11, an application to approve a Class I liquor license for Tritastic Inc., doing business as Yamato Sushi, 7425 Pacific Street, Suite 1.
Public hearing on agenda item number 11 is today. Proponents, please.
Name and address.
Name and address for the record, please.
Tron Lee, the chairman of the board in Fantastic Inc.
Okay, and your address?
The address of the...
That's fine.
That's fine. If the business is fine.
Oh, okay. 7425 Pacific Street.
Okay.
Perfect.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
So you're here to just answer any questions if we
Yes.
have any? Thank you.
Yes.
Are there any other proponents who wish to be heard? Seeing none, are there any opponents who wish to be heard? Seeing none, public hearing is closed. Mr. Jerem.
Yes, you got 30 seconds to make a pitch on why this is not your typical sushi place where we should all come.
Oh, okay. First of all, it's new to Omaha. It's Sushi Train, first in Omaha, first in Nebraska. And we have our part owners that owns restaurants, and they have sushi places that are very successful. And we're bringing this new culture and new style of food to Omaha, and it's going to be fantastic.
Well, good luck to you, and I would move to
All right, thank you, sir.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve item 11. There are no further lights. Roll call.
Festerson.
Yes.
Harding.
Yes.
Jerem.
Yes.
Melton. Pauls. Palermo.
Yes.
Mr. President.
Yes.
Item 11 approved, 7-0.
Good luck.
Thank you, sir.
Item 12, a request to appoint Joseph R. Wells as manager of Drought House LLC, doing business as the Original Drought House for their Class C liquor license located at 12411 West Center Road, Suites 101 and 102.
Public hearing on agenda item number 12 is today. Proponents, please.
Joseph Wells,
Address?
12411 West Center Road.
Thank you. And you're just here to answer questions if we have any?
Yep.
Thank you. Are there any other proponents who wish to be heard? Seeing none, are there any opponents who wish to be heard? Seeing none, the public hearing is closed.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve item 12. No lights. Roll call.
Festerson.
Yes.
Harding. Jerem.
Yes.
Melton. Pauls.
Yes.
Palermo.
Yes.
Mr. President.
Yes.
Item 12 approved, 7-0. Items 13, 14, and 15 all relate to Keno satellite agreements. Resolutions to grant approval to EHPV Lottery Service to operate Big Red Keno satellite locations for the following: Lookout Lounge 320-322 South 72nd Street, Liquid Lounge 11341 Davenport Street, Ryan's Food and Spirits 12221 Mary Plaza, Suite 104.
Public hearing on agenda items numbers 13, 14, and 15 are today. Proponents, please.
Yes, Mr. President, members of the council, my name is Katrina Coffey. I'm Vice President of Marketing for Big Red Keno, and we're located at 11248 John Galt Boulevard. I have with me today the three owners of these locations, and we'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. Are there any other proponents who wish to be heard? Seeing none, are there any opponents who wish to be heard? Seeing none, the public hearing is closed.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve items 13 through 15. There are no lights. Roll call.
Festerson.
Yes.
Harding.
Yes.
Jerem.
Yes.
Melton.
Yes.
Pauls.
Yes.
Palermo.
Yes.
Mr. President.
Yes.
Items 13 through 15 approved, 7-0.
Thank you.
Consent agenda. Any member of the City Council may cause any item placed on the consent agenda to be removed. Items removed from the consent agenda shall be taken up by the City Council immediately following the consent agenda in the order in which they were removed, unless otherwise provided by the City Council Rules of Order.
Public hearing on agenda items numbers 16, 17, and 18 were held on July 11th, 2017. Ms. Melton.
Anybody here from the domestic violence unit? Oh, you come on down.
Good afternoon. Lieutenant Catherine Maloney with the Special Victims Unit, the Omaha Police Department.
Thank you for coming down. I know there were some questions brought up earlier today, and I kind of feel that I would be remiss as a former prosecutor in the domestic violence unit, not to just actually call you down here, recognize you for the important work that you do for our city. I've obviously worked with your unit for many years, and everybody was absolutely fabulous, and it looks to me like this is really going to be a benefit. I've been to the old offices many times and very cramped, and I know that the unit has grown quite a bit. It was very well needed. And now that you're located in Project Harmony, if you just want to discuss just a little bit of the benefits of this for your unit.
The movement to Project Harmony's campus.
Name and address.
You bet. Catherine Maloney, Lieutenant with the Omaha Police Department. So our move to Project Harmony has been a long time coming. It's probably been about 2 years. Some issues with the construction back and forth, but some space opened up, and Project Harmony welcomed us, meeting the domestic violence unit, with open arms into their fold to kind of complete the child advocacy type program that is being ran out there. Some additional items that are available to us now at Project Harmony that weren't in the old building, some added space, conference room, break room. It may sound minor, but we actually have restrooms now in our own area instead of having to go down the hall and share that with an entire other floor.
All right. Well, I want to thank you for all the work you've done and continue to do for the city. I think this is an excellent move, and I'm really glad that we were finally able to get you all in one spot and that you have the resources right around you to help the victims and the people in need in our community.
We do as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Harding.
Thank you. I know there were some questions earlier today at pre-council about the dollars and the lease arrangements, and I want to thank the captain for giving us that information. I just from a real estate standpoint, I think you were paying about $10 a foot full service for your space at Project Harmony, which is a great deal, and with the increased space and the rent, it's still $12 a foot, which is still a great deal. And as Ms. Melton said, it's very unfortunate. We need the services, but we really appreciate what you're doing, and I think this is a good deal for the city from a financial standpoint or for a lease standpoint as well.
Thank you. The Omaha Police Department agrees wholeheartedly.
Yeah. Thank you. Mr. Pauls.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's really interesting. This morning I brought these questions up because my intent was really to support this project. It's been implied by these questions that somehow I question what you're doing. I don't think people realize I spent 30-some years as a school administrator, and I dealt with families, and what you're doing for these families, I basically suffered along with them because I saw some of the stuff happening. So I truly appreciate what you're doing, and I was trying to find out if they did get additional help. That's what I was trying to find out. More room, more help. I understand your area was not of comfort, the way it appears.
Severely cramped. Yes.
Right. And my intent had nothing to do with that. My intent was to say, hey, people, wake up. There are groups of people out there who need help, and we need to be providing that. And that's why, and not only that, Project Harmony is in my district.
Fantastic.
So, I have, not only that, but having been an administrator for many years, I get it. I'm not talking about the legal part. I'm talking about the human part. The day by day when I've seen some of these kids have to go through. So I wish people would really understand that when the question is asked, it has nothing to do with what you're doing other than trying to support you more. Again, I appreciate what you're doing. I truly do. And we need your help, sad to say.
Thank you, sir. And that's why we're here, to answer any of the questions, because a lot of people sadly don't understand the whole realm of what Project Harmony does and what they have to offer for not only the kids in need, but the families that are in need as well.
Right. Yes. Thank you.
Welcome.
Mr. Jerem.
I was just going to expand on that. The nature of the services that Project Harmony provides, and that your unit seeks to work with the victims in a very sensitive, respectful way with the most vulnerable, youngest members of our community, is not something that lends itself well to a police station. In fact, it's a very intimidating, frightening experience for children to be experience another trauma, to go to some place that's so scary to them. So we figured out a way as a community through this nonprofit that provides wonderful services at this bargain rate of $10 to $12 a square foot to have you and your unit brought in so that the children can go to an environment that is welcoming and sensitive to their needs at a very, very difficult time in their lives. So in your unit, what you do is probably some of the most difficult police work there can be in our city. So thank you for your service and going about what you do.
I can't be selfish and take all the credit. There's a lot of great advocacy groups working out there, and cohesively we work together. It's just a collaboration of a lot of great folks who really enjoy their job and doing the best they can for our victims.
Thank you. Thank you. Is there a motion? Moved and seconded to approve items 16 through 18. There are no further lights. Roll call.
Festerson.
Yes.
Harding. Jerem.
Yes.
Melton.
Yes.
Pauls.
Yes.
Palermo.
Yes.
Mr. President.
Yes.
Items 16 through 18 approved, 7-0.
The public hearings on agenda items numbers 19 through 24 are today. If you wish to address the City Council regarding these items, please come to the microphone, indicate the agenda item number you wish to address, identify yourself by your name, your address, and who you represent, and if you are a proponent or an opponent. Seeing none, the public hearing is closed.
Motion approved.
It's moved and seconded to approve items 19 through 24. There are no lights. Roll call.
Festerson.
Yes.
Harding. Jerem.
Yes.
Melton.
Yes.
Pauls.
Yes.
Palermo.
Yes.
Mr. President.
Yes.
Items 19 through 24 approved, 7-0. Item 25, an ordinance to designate an enhanced employment area for the Capitol District located at the northwest corner of 10th Street and Capitol Avenue. A is an amendment of the whole requested by the Law Department. The City Clerk will place this on file. B is an amendment of the whole requested by the Law Department, replacing 25A.
The public hearing was held. Ms. Melton.
I just want to say, I just wanted to make a few comments that I didn't make at the last hearing. I was sitting at the College World Series watching a game, and I looked out and saw the new building that had the Capitol District, and it was lit up, and it had the Marriott. It's an impressive project for our community. It looked great. I'm very, very proud of kind of the new skyline that Omaha has with this project. I think everybody knows that. I'm not going to go into what I've said before, that I'm just fundamentally opposed to the tax. I think that the project in and of itself, if one deserved it, it would be this one. I absolutely think it's going to be a great addition to Omaha. So I don't want my no vote to be a no vote to the project. I plan on coming down and paying the extra tax myself. I'm just not going to vote for it today. But I think it's absolutely wonderful, and I just didn't want that to get lost in maybe any of the arguments or disagreements that we may have on this particular issue. I want to thank Mr. Moylan for his investment into our community, and I look forward to spending time going down there with my family and maybe having a date night with my husband down there. So thank you very, very much for all of your efforts. I really, truly appreciate it. From all of the investors I know that are here today, we appreciate the investment in our city. And I think it's very important moving forward as we move our city forward to continue to have projects such as this. So with that, I just wanted that said. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Festerson.
Thanks, Mr. President. Mr. Kratz, what we have on the agenda today is 25B for consideration, amendment of the whole, which is different than what we had a couple weeks ago. So could you just briefly summarize the differences now from then?
Paul Kratz, City Attorney. Several weeks ago, we simply put out an ordinance that basically set forth the enhanced employment occupation tax. Within the last couple weeks, we've had the opportunity to, I guess, further enhance the ordinance by adding an agreement between the city and the developers. The agreement that's added reflects is very much similar to a TIF agreement. And you'll see as you go through it that it's basically outlines the long-term arrangement, 20-year arrangement between the city and the district. So again, the extra week's time allowed us to further develop this ordinance.
Okay. And one of the new elements, as was desired from last time, is more expressly talking about the sunset, right, which is the 20-year maximum.
That's correct.
And up to a certain amount of funding. And should that funding be accomplished sooner, the tax would end sooner.
The agreement says it's up to $10 million, and If it's like the usual TIF situation, if the money comes in quicker or sooner, greater than before, then it will end before then. Conversely, if it doesn't come in to the tune of the $10 million and there's a shortfall, it's not on the city, it's on the developer to make up any difference.
Right. And it's a much more substantive document than we had before, primarily because I think you did attach the redevelopment agreement that was approved in 2013 and 2014, which clearly commits this economic development tool as part of this project and was signed by the mayor and previously approved by the city council, right?
That's correct.
And I think it goes without saying, and I think you would agree, that it's helpful to have these documents entirely spelled out and briefed prior to the day the city council is considering them, which was part of the issue last time as well, and I think was accomplished this time, right?
Yes, sir.
I'm going to come back to that line of thinking here in a second, but I see we have Omaha Chamber representatives here in the audience. Ms. Krieger, if you want to come down. I think you were not here at the public hearing 2 weeks ago, but do have a thought and a position on this, so I just wanted to give you the opportunity to express that.
That's correct. Thank you. Jennifer Krieger, Greater Omaha Chamber, 1301 Harney Street. Just a couple of thoughts from our perspective. The project has our full support. The Economic Development Partnership at the Chamber has partnered with Shamrock Development. The Capital District is a critical component to Omaha's push to retain and attract both talent and businesses. Our YP group is the largest in the region, and they're consistently making it clear to us that they are seeking more downtown amenities. When we compare with our peer cities, we must have a dynamic downtown to compete for top talent. And this project is very valuable to our city and deserves all of our support on its own merits.
Thank you. So you support the project and the tool to get it done here today?
That's right, yes.
Thanks. So back to the line of thinking with Mr. Kretz. Thanks. Appreciate that. I think the document is much more substantive this time because it doesn't include the redevelopment agreement where this is clearly spelled out and previously approved. And I think it's a really bad message we send to the development community if redevelopment agreements that are previously committed to, not approved, are not followed, or a city council reneges on those items. So I wanted to observe that and make sure that's understood as we go forward here, and I think that'd be a concerning message to economic development in general if we aren't living up to those responsibilities. Mr. Moylan, if you would, on behalf of the project. As Councilmember Melton observed, I think if there's a project one thinks of that might qualify for this new tool, one does think of the Capital District because of its nature and its size and its entertainment capabilities and what it could bring to Omaha. I wanted to ask you two questions along those lines. One, the amount of investment associated with this project and employment levels, if you have that too.
Mike Moylan with Shamrock Development, 111 North 13th Street. The first question is the total amount of the investment of the Capital District is around $225 million and is spurning a couple of other projects nearby as well too, including some other apartments. So just ours alone though is around $225 million. In jobs, I think the best, we did a study on the jobs that were occurring. There was before construction jobs that are occurring down there. It's pretty obvious if you go down and see the amount of red vests and orange vests, and I don't know what the exact number is, but it's upwards of 1,700 to 2,000 construction jobs. And then I don't have the exact employee count for the Marriott itself, but it is a full-service Marriott, and we've had 3 or 4 job fairs already, and we're up to 40 or 50 employees right now, and I know it's going to be well over 100, if not closer to 200. There's many part-time employees involved with the ballroom part of the business as well. In addition, we're going to have 15 to 20 restaurants and bars in our entertainment district, all of which will be providing management positions as well as server positions. So it's quite a few number of jobs they're going to be bringing into the city of Omaha here.
Great. So $225 million of new investment and easily 100 to 200 new jobs.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's
thousands in the end, yes.
A big investment. And it's safe to say also that you could not pursue the project without the tool we're talking about here today, at least not as it's been conceived.
we recognized it as a tool early on that we were planning on. That's why we asked to have it put in the redevelopment agreement early on. It is an important tool for the type of district we're doing. We're building a destination dining and entertainment district, and that needs more than just sidewalks and other things. We needed to make it a district to help be an attraction to the not only people living in the metropolitan area, but from all the surrounding communities around there. The town square that we're providing is a very robust, state-of-the-art in a town square, and it's going to be something people are going to feel welcome in, but it does come at an expense, and we could not do it to the degree that we are without having the occupation tax passed here today, hopefully.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Pavin, too, if you're available. So 2 weeks ago, we also talked about sort of the bigger perspective on this as well. Because this is a new economic development tool the city would be incorporating. And as has been discussed here, this might be a good example of where it does apply or should apply or can apply. But then it raises the bigger question about how do we handle this going forward in the future and what those parameters might be. And we had a conversation last time about how do we go about doing that to ensure there's some kind of policy around this going forward, like there is with TIF or a TIF committee, as to what products could or may not qualify for this incentive. So I believe there's been discussion about an executive order, and that's kind of in the works. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, Cassie Pavin, Mayor's Office. Per the public hearing and the last discussion we had about how do we move forward with projects, because I know that there was some concern amongst council members that every developer with every project would be coming in, and where do you start to draw that line? The discussion we have been having is creating a committee similar to the TIF committee, not the TIF committee itself, but independent of that. Given the nature of this tool, because technically you could use it inside of a CRA, which would be eligible for TIF, or outside of a CRA if determined that it was an enhanced employment area. So we're currently drafting what that committee looks like, as well as the various guidelines, documents that would need to be submitted on behalf of someone that would need to be doing or be seeking this tool, and we're hoping to have those out here relatively soon.
Yeah, I think that'd be beneficial as well. The planning committee started talking about this the other day too. I'd be willing to look at that with you. I think there does need to be a structure around it and a demonstration that a project can't proceed without it, but for the need this tool can provide. So keep us updated on your progress there, and we look forward to seeing it.
Will do.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Pauls.
Thank you, Mr. President. The conversations that this is generating right now is one of my initial intent, because I thought we were moving pretty fast through this project. And I think just what we heard from Cassie tells you things are in the works. This is the first project, is my understanding, out of the chute here, and usually the first project is sort of like the early pioneers. They're the ones that took the arrows. Just making me relive a little bit of my past. Senator Adams, when he was down in the legislature, he would be smiling at us right now because of the things that he's causing us to discuss, because this is what he was proposing, I think, for his town of York at that time. And little do you realize that probably how this thing is just rolling, and hopefully it's going to help us all. The reason why, that's one reason why I was a little bit conflicted on this. But this, a couple things is making me think the way I'm going to vote is, not too long ago we had the opportunity to have HDR downtown, and we lost it. We didn't lose it from the city, but we lost it, and our downtown needs something. I'm a firm believer of that. And another thing that makes me think about this, because we all know the mayor is not just tickled to death about things such as occupation tax, but she supports this. So I think with the mayor's support, and also losing places like HDR to downtown, which would have had a major impact on our city. We're talking about landscapes. We looked outside the Ball Diamond or this over there, and you would have seen some beautiful buildings over there, which are not. So I think we're on the way to get this thing settled today. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hardy.
Thank you. Thanks. OB 562 was passed in 2007, which was the
that statute that allowed this process to move forward. And as my colleague to my right has stated, he was involved in that process and voted for that. We also had an enabling ordinance passed by what would be the previous council just a few months ago in April that allowed for the use of this tax, as well as been mentioned, the redevelopment agreement that was passed by the previous council. So I actually, at some point in this process, asked Paul Kratz, the city attorney, whether or not this even needed to come before us. If we have the approval at the state level, we have the enabling legislation, or the enabling ordinance, which is required at the city level, why does it even have to come before the council? And because of the setting the defined boundaries of that and the tax itself, the tax rate, is why we have that here. But I come to this council being on it just a little over a month or so at the end of a long process, and I think it's probably been some four plus years or so. And so I kind of come in at the conclusion of the good faith negotiations that have been going on between the city and the developers for the Capital District. So I find myself in a unique and struggling position in that I am philosophically not in line with the concept of the occupation tax, but I understand that when working on projects that will be great benefits to the city, and in this case some $250 million, there has to be a level of trust during the process for all parties as they work forward in trying to get that final approval. But I also want to say this does not just apply to developers. I think any citizen who comes to the city with a concern or a project or an issue, I think there has to be that level of trust to be able to work through with the parties involved to get to a process, or to get through the process to get a final approval on an issue. I think that applies equally to be it a developer or any citizen. And then it's interesting as we move forward with this, as before we even get to an agreement, or even if we have an agreement, I think a wise person once said to me that there's no contract that is so ironclad, and that a lot of the agreement really boils down to, or the success of that agreement really boils down to the dependability of the parties to depend on each other. And so I think it's, as I said, I'm conflicted in the sense that I am opposed to the concept, at least at this point, of the occupation tax, but understand too that I might be interjecting myself in a long process that has had all these approvals and has had this incorporated in the plan all along. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Jerem.
Yes, there were several things that I heard my colleagues say that I wholeheartedly agree with, and what you just heard I think is somewhat of the full faith and credit of the city analogy to having investment partners who come forward, and not often on a magnitude of $225 million, who together with their leader, there's no greater champion for downtown redevelopment than Mike Moylan in our city, and that he could assemble a team to take on a project of this scope that has ramifications in very positive ways for our city on a host of levels, whether it be in our city's efforts to attract convention business here, to tourism, to retaining the young and the bright and the talented of our city, that they'll stay here. I was at lunch today and had a conversation with someone who talked about the young professional crowd just this coming week that's going to Kansas City to their Power and Light district. and how it would have been great had the timing of this one been ready to go, because they could have had a staycation here for that event for that family. So even Omaha's own community will be choosing to go to the Marriott and the Hilton and do fun things at the entertainment district rather than drive 3 hours to the south, as well as our Convention and Visitors Bureau director right behind us during Council Member Palermo's committee this morning gave a glowing report about the attractive addition that this location and project makes when we're out pitching conventions, where the planners want to have one hotel if they can get it, but 2 full-service attractions connected all together and linked with the CenturyLink Center. It makes this just a fantastic tool in their toolkit to close business propositions with these outside groups. So when you think about all the things that are involved in this, ultimately, who chooses to go to the entertainment district and pay this enhanced employment occupation tax? When it comes to our community from people from other communities, people can vote with their feet, as I've said before on this. They don't have to go. But as Councilmember Melton said, there's going to be so many cool things happening here. Who's not going to want to go, right? And to have this excitement happening in District 2 that Councilmember Gray represents, and the job fairs and the special efforts that this investment team did to reach out to the poorest sections of our city with job fairs in the northeast and southeast parts of our city to offer employment to people looking for it, is just a feather in the cap of this team and what they're doing for our city. So I've been a supporter of this for a while, and I've shared with you my excitement for your project and support of it, and what you're going to do for the city and producing return on investment to the city's bottom line is and will be spectacular. Thank you.
Thank you. Just a couple of comments that I would like to make. First of all, let me just say that, Amy, you and your husband are more than welcome to come down, spend money in my district, stay there, hang out, do whatever you want to do for as long as you want to do it, as well as the rest of my colleagues on the council. Mr. Moylan, thank you for the investment. If you have some friends that have an additional $225 million they got laying around and they want to spend it in a certain district, call me first. But let me say, on a serious side, though, we just finished what I would describe as a major convention that was here, and that was the NUSA convention, the Neighborhoods USA convention. And I was proud of that for several reasons. Number one, we had several council members, including my vice president to my left here, and Ms. Melton, and myself, who did a lot of work to bring that conference here. And I can't begin to tell you the number of phone calls and the number of people around the country who are talking about Omaha as a result of this conference. For people who may not know, this conference was the largest conference since 2004. We had the largest conference since 2004. It was someplace in California that I don't remember, nor do I care to remember, that had a larger one than ours, but that was important. But just as important is the fact that we now have the ability to, Mr. Baxton, we have the ability now to increase our potential for bringing in larger conventions. Am I right?
Yes, that is correct.
I think that's fantastic for this city. I think it's a fantastic benefit. I plan to go. The word tax doesn't bother me as much as it does some other people, I guess. But I appreciate the work that you've done. I appreciate the work that you all have put in, the money you have spent, the services that you have provided, the work you have done in some of our poorest communities to seek out employment for individuals. And so for me, I was a supporter from day one and will continue to be, and will come down and spend a few of my tax dollars as well. There are no, Mr. Palermo.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just quickly to echo what we've already heard, this capital district area is unique. It's impossible to have me sit here and support Omaha as a city and to not support a project like this to make us even more of a destination. So, thank you.
There are no more lights. Is there a motion?
And this is for the amendment of the whole B.
This is for the amendment of the whole. Amendment of the whole B. Okay. Mr. Pauls made the motion. Who seconded? Christian seconded. There are no further lights. Roll call.
Festerson.
Yes.
Harding.
Yes.
Jerem.
Yes.
Melton.
No.
Pauls. Palermo.
Yes.
Mr. President.
Yes.
Motion passed 6-1.
Is it as amended?
As amended. 25 as amended. Yep.
Same motion, same second?
It's an amendment.
Oh,
it's
we just have
amendment
to
of
vote
the
once.
whole. Okay.
Yep, on the amendment of the whole.
Thank you.
Yep.
Next item.
Pursuant to City Council Rule 7D, the public hearings on agenda items 26 through 30 shall be held on the third reading. Item 31, an ordinance to revise definitions and procedures for preliminary and final plats of subdivisions, to clarify provisions for noise attenuation easements, and to revise time limitations for installation of public improvements. Planning Board and Planning Department recommend approval.
Public hearing on agenda item number 31 is today. Proponents, please. Seeing none, are there any opponents? Seeing none, public hearing is closed. Next item.
Item 32, an ordinance to transfer $5,940,571 in the 2017 budget of the City of Omaha from the wage adjustment account to the operating budget of the Police Department.
Public hearing on agenda item number 32 is today. Proponents, please. Seeing none, are there any opponents? Seeing none, public hearing is closed. Next item. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Festerson.
Thanks, Mr. President. Just a quick reminder on this one. Mr. Curtis, we talked about this in Finance Committee previously. So this would effectively, it's a result of the new police agreement, and it takes the remaining funds we've been setting aside from the wage adjustment account and puts them into the police department for that purpose, correct?
Steve Curtis, City Finance. Yeah, if you remember, we do also move the, in this case, 15 and 16 money. It's just that's done kind of in a year-end transfer, so you don't see it here. This one's required because it's in the middle of the year, so you actually move one expense item from one location to the actual police budget.
And that zeroes out that remaining fund, or are you still doing that in phases?
There's still about $3.8 million there. We've been holding it until we see for sure what the healthcare requirements are for the new healthcare fund, and then that would be released this year.
Later in 2017?
Yes.
And that has to come back to us as well?
Pardon me?
That comes back to us as well when that transfer is ready?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, actually, no, that will just be released into the year-end. But, yeah, you would see it as the year-end transfer more than likely.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay. It's moved in second.
Nope, that's just a public hearing.
Oh, just public hearing. Next item.
Item 33, an ordinance to amend certain portions of various special levy ordinances to remove assessments on property owned by the City of Omaha located at 3818 Corby Street and 4219 Corby Street.
Public hearing on agenda item number 33 is today. Proponents, please. Seeing none, are there any opponents? Seeing none, the public hearing is closed. Next item.
Item 34, an ordinance to approve an agreement with the Douglas County Board of Commissioners in the amount of $219,171 to provide funding to the Douglas County Attorney's Office as well as the Douglas County Sheriff's Office.
Public hearing on agenda item number 34 is today. Proponents, please. Seeing none, are there any opponents? Seeing none, public hearing is closed. Next item.
Item 35, an ordinance to approve a contract to assist in payment of the county's Victim Witness Program from January 1st, 2017 through December 31st, 2022, with a total cost of $63,000 per year.
Public hearing on agenda item number 35 is today. Public proponents, please. Seeing none, are there any opponents? Seeing none, public hearing is closed. Next item.
Item 36, an ordinance to accept the bid and authorize payments to Zoll Medical Corporation for the purchase of a 5-year extended warranty and preventative maintenance contract for 18 Zoll defibrillators in the amount of $89,461.27.
Public hearing on agenda item number 36 is today. Proponents, please. Seeing none, are there any opponents? Seeing none, public hearing is closed. Next item.
Pursuant to City Council Rule 7C, the public hearings on agenda items 37 through 39 shall be held on the second reading. Item 40, Chairman of the Board of Equalization reports approval of plan of assessment with adjustments and corrections made at the regular meeting held July 11th, 2017.
Motion to approve. Moved and seconded to approve item 40. No lights. Roll call.
Festerson.
Yes.
Harding. Jerem.
Yes.
Melton.
Yes.
Pauls.
Yes.
Palermo.
Yes.
Mr. President.
Yes.
Item 40 approved, 7-0.
Moved and seconded to adjourn. No further lights. Roll call.
Festerson.
Yes.
Harding. Jerem.
Yes.
Melton.
Yes.
Pauls.
Yes.
Palermo.
Yes.
Mr. President.
Yes.
Motion passed, 7-0. Meeting adjourned, 3:01 PM.